Interspersed throughout our discussions are a few themes. One theme is how information about this particular subject has been suppressed, even mismanaged. So much so that objectives of many important meetings like the climate change conferences and other organizations, well, those objectives aren't being met. And that all begins with the words we use. How clear are they? Are they conveying reality? These are all food movements that superficially seem to make sense. Yeah, they make you feel as if you're going in the right direction because they're going away from factory farms. They're going away from processed foods. Hey, even better, they're going away from high fructose corn syrup. That's got to be a good thing, right? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Do any of these words mean sustainable or healthy? Many would want you to think so. How about the word humane? Does humane equal sustainable? And if it does, which it doesn't, who is it that tries to define humane for all of us? Incredibly, there is one person that the U.S.D.A. and every humane certified organization in the world relies on for that definition of humane. One person. Does humane then even equal humane? And what does real food mean? I mean, I have issues with its precepts. Real food is a very large food movement today, especially on college campuses that I visit. It's defined by being local, fair, sustainable, and humane. All four of those things at once. Well, that sounds terrific. But this is terribly misleading. For instance, let me see. Let me give you an example of this. For instance, this is considered not real food. Now, it's a Vega bar. It's not real food because it's not local. It's made in Vancouver. That's pretty far away. And worse, it's processed. It's all put together for you. But it does have Sachi Inchi seeds, fair traded, 4 different types of organic plant protein. It's really put together quite beautifully well, but remember, it's not real food. It doesn't fit their definition. Whereas these other food items I'm about to show you are considered real food. Over 19,000 chickens are killed every minute. Every 60 seconds in our country, 19,000. I suppose that's pretty real. And if chicken, beef, pork, fish, or any animal product is considered real food, what about these? Real food too? Sure, why not? They come along with it. And hey, these are free. You don't have to pay anything for those. So unlike the Vega bar, these poor things are considered real food because they're local. And the real food people think that they're sustainable, healthy, and humane, but they're not. They're none of those things, other than perhaps being local. Therefore, the real food movement is flawed because the definitions they're using are flawed. Similar to every other food movement on this list, just because something is local doesn't at all mean that it's healthy or sustainable or humane. It doesn't even mean that it should be eaten. The only thing that local means is that it's not very far from here. Buying local has little to do with sustainability then, other than from an economic standpoint. It's a solid idea to help nearby farmers. That's important. But in fact, transportation is only responsible for 4%. Just 4% of all the fossil fuels used and all the greenhouse gases emitted in the entire food production process. It's much more relevant to view all of this by using a complete life cycle analysis. 2014 was designated the year of the family farmer, which is a good thing. But in terms of our health and the health of our environment, we must remember that it is the type of food that's being produced that matters most, not the size of the farm or the miles traveled. So by all means, support your local farmer markets, one of the 8,500 throughout the United States, and support your local cooperatives. But it has to be plant-based in order to make sense. And here's a new animal agriculture movement that's gaining momentum called Climate Smart. It's a nice thought, but given the global warming predicament that we're in, shouldn't we be growing and eating only plant-based foods, which would then make this food movement the climate smartest, wouldn't it? I mean, we all want to be smart, but who wouldn't want to be the smartest? The most recent food movement in the United States, Canada, and Europe that's gaining considerable traction is this one, to eat less meat. Let's see. So the logic in this food movement is to eat less meat is if you recognize that you're doing something that's wrong, hurtful, and unnecessary, hey, well, let's just continue doing that wrong, hurtful, unnecessary thing a few less times each day. Yeah, I guess I see the logic in that. Yeah, sure. despite what the United Nations and other gold standard organizations are promoting, this sustainability issue will not be solved by advocating simply eating less meat, because that approach is subjective. There's no metric. It's inconsistent with the magnitude and the urgency of the problem, and it perpetuates irresponsibility with every bite taken. Also, it mistakenly shifts the focus to seafood, because we all know seafood's not really meat, right? That's why I worry about it. We're going to talk quite a bit about seafood tomorrow, sea animals, sea life, and our oceans. Again, it all begins with the words we use. Are they conveying reality? This represents a food term that is constantly used improperly. It's a protein, perhaps a rudimentary protein. It doesn't have all the secondary and tertiary characteristics. But when you're thinking about eating protein, I mean, actually you should be thinking about everything else you're eating, but as well. But if you're thinking about eating protein, this is what you should be thinking about. As in, I need to get my protein today. Protein is not the little buddy looking over my shoulder. That's my research assistant. He couldn't make the trip here, but still there. Seems pretty obvious. It's a research assistant. And what about this couple's therapy session? They're having difficulties because one of them is constantly being called protein, and the other one's not. And it's not her name. And she makes it very clear that she doesn't like it. She doesn't like it one bit. They're calling me protein. Are you going to do something about this? I'm trying. I'm trying. Protein's also not the guy on the left here. And yet that's what people are calling protein, aren't they? The guy on the left with the overzealous smooch and the excessive amount of saliva that he always has, he's a cow. He shouldn't be called protein. He shouldn't be called protein any more than the guy on the right. And yet we do. In fact, his name is Plato. That's very, very special. Thank you. Thank you. He'd appreciate that.